haven't they?
Well, they've got decent players all around the pitch, but they've not. I don't know.
Their class is probably in the forward pack this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than in the try scoring end
yeah,
of things.
but that's really not going to win you matches necessarily. And I think certainly against the teams that are left, who have, apart from Salford, who have all got bigger and better packs, I think.
I think that's a fair comment.
And I think Salford's got a bigger heart than Cass.
Wow. Good, strong call.
Big call.
I don't like Castleford anymore.
No, do you remember, this is what I was thinking. Do you remember the old days of Castleford, where you were like best friends with each other?
Well,
and since a few spats this season,
I didn't mind them so much then. Well, it's that horrible Castleford fan that was so horrible to us last week.
Of course. Hopefully they get pulled out and learn that behaviour isn't acceptable.
And they're just a bit arrogant, aren't they?
Well, it's misplaced. Because they've not won now.
Exactly, you know.
Right, let's move on to the second game that we're going to talk about. We're going to do them in alphabetical order for Friday night because there's no real best way. So let's go to Huddersfield, Alan.
Yep, so it finished Huddersfield 24, Catalan 22. Huddersfield actually, spoiler alert, actually managing to do what they needed to do. It was 14-10 to the Catalan at half-time. 5,242 people were there, and Ben Thaler was the man with the whistle. Catalan actually made more metres and made fewer errors, although the Giants had more breaks, busts and offloads, as well as fewer penalties conceded and a better team tackle success rate. For the winning Giants, Louis Senior had a really breakout game, 4 tries, 5 tackle busts, 132 metres and 2 clean breaks. On the other side, Jerry showed that he can still have it, 1 try, 129 metres. Alex Mellor with 43 tackles and John Luke Kirby with 40 tackles of his own. For the losing Catalan Dragons, Jason Battieri with 135 metres, Ben Garcia 5 tackle busts, 124 metres, Arthur Romano with 123 metres, and Lewis Tierney proves that he can score 2 tries, 114 metres and 2 clean breaks.
A great return to form. Rob, yes. The Huddersfield fan, said, who even are Regan Grace and Ash Hanley in this game? Less than Louis Senior, who, of course, those 4 tries. I mean, sterling performance from the young wingman. Young players, actually, in this game, Al. I don't want to take too much of what you're going to say, but young players seem to be at the top of the charts for these guys.
Yeah, and they certainly do.
Who gets to read out Malkarma? Go on, Sarah.
Go on, Sarah can do it.
Didn't get the top 5 memo, Karma. Stupid coach Steve celebrates making the top 8 and plots finals footy. Kinnell.
Kinnell.
So, who stood out and what grabbed your attention, Alan, from kind of what became one of the least significant games of the week?
It did in the end, but obviously they weren't particularly to know that at the time. No. And as I said in the build-up, I didn't have a great tipping week this week, and part of the reason is
change.
Thanks, but the only reason I think is because I thought that these teams who had to win or potentially had to win were going to win, and Huddersfield were the only team that actually managed to do it against a Catalan team who actually had, we've seen these weeks are already on the beach. But yeah, I mean, you can't really look beyond Louis Senior. I mean, I think that first try was absolutely spectacular. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think he had the easiest part of it, but
yeah, well, yeah, it never harms to be the player diving over, does it? But yeah, no, that spoiler, that's my try of the weekend. As I said, Catalan showed some fight. They actually, they did put in a reasonable performance, but Huddersfield did what they had to do, which is more than some other teams did on Friday night.
Young halfback at Catalans, Arthur Morg, had his first game of the season. I think he had 1 or 2 outings last year. Maybe they play him a little bit fullback, a little bit halfback. But that young halfback pairing, Lucas Albert and Arthur Morg, that young French halfback pairing, that to me feels like something good compared to what they've put through with Greg Bird playing with Matty Smith, or Greg Bird playing with Samisoni Laggy, or Greg Bird playing with Tony G. This seemed more exciting to me.
Well, to be honest, they've tried pretty much every other combination this year, haven't they? So they've finally got down to the last two players on the depth chart. And maybe actually it was the right thing all along. But yeah, there's probably something in, basing this team in a local French kind of flavour a bit more. It's probably not a bad thing, I would say. But yeah, it's. And
the highlights showed him have a quick fleet of foot. Did the young Morg as well? Assist and a try. He looked a bit tasty. He looked capable.
Yeah, and Tierney scored, even though he butchered him earlier this year. He managed to actually get across the line.
Yeah,
so.
He's managed to start scoring tries when it doesn't matter. Right, let's move on then. Let's move to the game you were at, Sarah, on Friday night.
Yep. So it finished. It finished Hull FC 6, St Helens 22, after being 6-14 to Saints at half time. In front of 11,004 people, refereed ineptly by Liam Moore. In terms of stats, with 15 errors made, 11 penalties conceded, and an 88% team tackle success, it may worry Saints as they head into the playoffs, but they won comfortably-ish. And that 88% was 2% better than Hull FC managed, and they also made 3 more breaks and over 300 more metres. In terms of individuals, Tommy Makinson was accredited with 3 tries, 5 tackle busts, 174 metres and 4 clean breaks. Alex Wormsley with 122 metres and 3 offloads. Mark Percival with 1 try, 9 tackle busts, 120 metres, and Lachlan Coote with 3 try assists, 5 tackle busts and 110 metres. For Hull, Carlos Tumivavi with 9 tackle busts and 125 metres, and Beretta Ferreira with 119 metres.
Right. The Tommy Makinson thing you just mentioned, can you clear up for me which try you don't think he scored? Because I saw the highlights and didn't pick up on which one was bad, but I know that people had said on Friday night there was one that they weren't sure about.
You could question all 3 of them, plus our Jamie Shaw one. I don't know which one it was. I think the second one, crossing, that would have been disallowed.
So it's not the Makinson involvement. Your problem was in the build-up, not the Makinson involvement at the end. Right, okay. Then that's what I'd not been noticing. Right, yeah, that makes sense then.
Minnie moved over and was taken out by the dummy runner. And I say taken out, but what I mean is came into contact with. But if that had been on Sky, that had been disallowed because it has been every week.
Right, okay. I'll have to watch that again for those bits inside then. I was watching for Makinson putting a foot in touch or dropping the ball or something.
No, I don't think that was an issue.
And on Carlos Tumivavi, I noticed you were particularly put out that he wasn't in the man of the match options on the Hull Twitter feed.
Well, I don't know what match Cameron Scott was watching, because Carlos was the head and shoulders above every other Hull player.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Right, let's do some fan views, starting with you, Alan. You do. Sarah, you can do your dad because
nobody else can read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, can I just say I'm a big fan of the saltiness in the supposedly the stats are supposed to be they're just black and white, aren't they? But I'm big fan of the saltiness.
Some things aren't always black and white.
Like the whole kit on Friday night.
Don't get me started.
just to hold on to your Hull Sharks prejudice. Tom Andrews says 2 chances at second, 2 chances at 5th, bottled both. Imagine winning Super League in March and somehow winning fuck all. Hang on, what has Paige done with our bed sheets? Hashtag Rad.
Be very careful, Tom.
Hashtag Rad is in.
At least we weren't reliant on someone else losing to stay in the league.
Oh dear.
Oh, sorry, it's my turn now.
What did your dad say?
Interpretation.
He said, well, we went in knowing what was needed, had a good dig, but in the end, not enough composure near their line. How much different could it have been if Sneyd had gathered his chip and chase?
Santa David, I think that's autocorrect. St. David, he said, okay, I wasn't there. I was on holiday in beautiful Sicily, but I can tell you how it went. A desperate Hull FC weren't good enough to overcome the mighty Saints, who did more than enough without being brilliant to win comfortably. Oh, and no doubt my Hull friends thought the ref was shit, which he probably was. Portallo a casa.
Cheers. Always in Our Shadow says, once more we're treated to the Liam Moore show. The man is just out of his depth. St Helens not at their best, but just too fluent for an FC team who lacked creative ideas in the red zone.
So Sarah, the starting point is going to be Liam Moore. And what I want to ask you about Liam Moore, it seems like every game that he's done at Hull this year, there's been problems with the performance. Not necessarily about favouring one team over the other thing, just not understanding some of the decisions. Because I think there was one decision where you couldn't understand why the opposition didn't have a try in one game that he refereed. But, well, is that right? Is that how you see things from Hull's point of view?
Yeah, I mean, because it was when we beat Wakefield earlier in the season that I thought it was absolutely awful, and he just... It's like, well, I mean, we were incompetent. We couldn't score or try to save our lives. But at one point, he kept penalising Saints for interference in the play of the ball and, like, not letting... We'd made a break and they wouldn't get off us for quite a substantial amount of time. Well, last week, Jamie Shaw was in the sin bin for that.
I mean, it was a different referee last week.
It was, yeah, but, you know, when he's constantly penalising the same thing, surely at some point you've got to send somebody to the sin bin.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's a different referee last week because it kind of suggests that Liam Moore might not be refereeing the games the same way that some of the other match officials we see are. Certainly the games involving Hull FC. I cast my mind back whenever people regularly criticise the same referee to when Wigan had Phil Bentham referee every single loss that we had in one season, and I came to the conclusion in that season that Wigan just weren't getting to grips with how Bentham was refereeing slightly differently to maybe the other refs were refereeing our games. But I sense it's slightly different with Liam Moore this year, and it's not necessarily the way he referees one side. It's that there's lots of things the audience watching don't quite grasp with the decisions he's making.
Yeah,
Is that fair? It's not like a bitterness thing, is it, from Hull fans?
It's not bitterness, because as I say, you know, when we beat Wakefield earlier in the season, I thought he was just as incompetent.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, yeah. So I guess work to do from Liam Moore's perspective, certainly to...
It's just indicative of the bigger problem we have with referees. You know, I think we need to get rid of Steve Hansen, and then hopefully that'll stop some of this... we'll be able to develop some other referees, because to say that Liam Moore is up there with the best, I just think it's laughable. And, you know, I wouldn't even say, relegate, you know, put him in the Championship or League One, because he just seems incompetent. There's just whole reams of rules he doesn't understand.
I'm going to say that I haven't seen him that many times, but when I have seen him, it hasn't jumped off the screen to me as much. But you've obviously seen him a few times at Hull this year, so
I think we've had him at least
seriously,
three matches, and every time he's been awful.
Right. Let's talk about some things that weren't awful then, and let's talk a little bit about St Helens. You saw them firsthand in this game. St Helens have been patchy recently. They started to put their first team back together, knowing that they get a rest next week in the first week of the playoffs. What was your assessment, watching on, of where St Helens are at going into the playoffs, Sarah?
They were okay. Like, again, you know, they scored 22 points against us. And some of those were questionable as well.
It could have been more if Lachlan Coote's goal kicking was anything like what you'd expect at the top level. Was that just difficult